Hi everyone, this is Lana from Lana Starkey's Substack, and today I have with me Matthew Glamorre. Hi Matthew, how are you?
Hi, Lana. I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So I might just start by getting you to tell me and the viewers a bit about yourself.
So, my name is Matthew Glamorre, and I am an audiovisual artist and composer. But I've always had nightclubs. I've always run nightclubs. One of my mediums of work is the party or the nightclub. For me, it's a very immediate way of trying out ideas, certainly music based and kind of fashion art music. I'm very interested in where those influences combine to form new zeitgeists and new aesthetics. So, since my teens, I've positioned myself at the front of youth movements and run events and clubs and concerts, exploring how different elements of fashion, art, music, culture, literature, how different gangs, tribes come together and form powerful movements that are greater than the sum of their parts. That's something that really interests me.
So just looking at your background there, that looks very, very England, very London. So am I right in thinking that London is your scene and has been?
Yes, I've always been a stalwart part of the London Underground. I ran away to London when I was 13, lived on the streets, immediately started going to clubs, tracking down the bands and the pop stars that I was fans of, and integrating myself into the working mechanisms of the city, of the underground, how the musicians are coming together, the fashion designers, the artists. I was squatted like most people did in the mid 80s. And so, yeah, London and England and the English voice. The English voice of the underground, which was always a very powerful, sardonic comment on our place in the world, but it was also a crucible of energy and a crucible of change. So I was always passionately involved in keeping that momentum rolling.
That really brings us to today. What's your read on the state of England today, or the world? Um,
England is no longer dreaming. It's now in its feverish death throes. Well, it can appear like it's in its feverish death throes. However, as always, there's something bubbling under the surface. The rebellion, the pushback, the revolutionaries are gathering. And it's an exciting time. So, actually, on the one hand, you can say, meh, kind of internationally, music is no longer driving culture. Technology is, YouTubers, podcasting. That has occupied the cultural centre for about the last 10 years. But I'm seeing at street level gathering of people in real life starting to collaborate, make music, make art, make fashion. So something is happening. There's a new vibrancy afoot.
that brings me to the Cathedral. Could you start by telling me what the Cathedral is?
The cathedral started just at the end of COVID after some of the guys that I know from, I guess, what you would call dissident right circles, who I found very exciting. And their ideas were, over the last kind of 10, 15 years, the most transgressive, the most confrontational to the system. I was really enjoying reading and watching their content. And a couple of them had been very involved with the anti lockdown marches. They told me one day that they had been to a party in South London. I was very impressed that then their tweed jackets had been down to South London. And been to what clearly was a squat party. I discovered, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I'm imagining at the squat party, there was a lot of South London crusty types, lefty types. And they
Yeah.
were like, oh, yeah, yes, they were. And I was like, what were they like? How did you get along? Oh, they were really nice. And I was like, well, there we go. That's positive. They had such a good time at this party that they said to me, oh, you used to throw parties. They said, well, if we helped, could you do one for us so we can invite our new friends? I was like, oh, it would be an honor for me to do so. That was the first, just as we were coming out of lockdown. And it was really for these two gangs to come together. I did it in my audiovisual studio in Soho, which was great. They allowed me to put in an illegal bar. And it was a ring on
Wow.
the doorbell and password type of affair. It was much more of an art installation. And we started off as an audiovisual art installation, multi-projection, very ambient music. For me, it began with ambient music because it was so important people talked. It wasn't about loud music and pushing the volume. It was much more kind of avant-garde, multi-projection, ambient. It really gave people room to speak. Although as people got drunker, as did the DJs, we ended up playing some kind of industrial and hardcore and stuff like that. I remember the opening night, there was a lad in white shirt and tweed waistcoat, and there was another lad in his t-shirt, ripped black t-shirt and jeans. And they were kind of looking at each other across the dance floor. And we played an industrial mix of Rammstein, Du hast nicht. And they started jumping up and down. And they stopped again. One said, I like this. And they were going, pointing, I like this, you like this, I like this. And they just both threw their hands up in the air and kind of hugged each other and started bouncing up and down together. And I just thought, yeah, that's what the Cathedral is. That was really special. Seeing those traditionally opposing, or imagine they were opposing forces. Coming together, joining together on the dance floor, in music, in celebration. That's what a real club can do. Bridge gaps, bring different tribes together and forge something bigger and stronger from the combination of the two, greater than the sum of its parts.
That's, I mean, remarkable that these two different tribes that must be enemies on Twitter, if they ever came across each other on Twitter, they'd be.
I think they would have been, you know. But this element of the old left, I think they really came into consciousness during COVID and the restrictions and in response to the tyranny. And there's more and more of this kind of, you know, the left me kind of people around. So it's a tug of war and we need all hands on the rope. And however late people come to it or, you know, whatever background, I think people need to be welcome and to get on the back of the rope. We all need to pull together.
Right. So would you say, I mean, if anything could unite these people, or if you could point to something common about all of the people that are attending these events, freedom. Freedom seems to be the common thread here.
So, I mean, the old left tend to refer to themselves as the freedom movement. And I think certainly the kind of new right would prioritize freedom from an intellectual, philosophical point of view, although I think there's a lot more discussions on that side about what that means. Yeah, freedom is definitely the idea, freedom of thought, speech, association, creation, but also patriotism. I think it's really important to, I mean, as you can see from my background, these are uniquely English expressions, and America has its unique artistic, creative, cultural expressions, and we very much have ours, which is to do the ethnicity of the people, the political history, the social history of our islands. I think everybody at the club shares an English or British identity. English identity being something that is very much frowned upon and oppressed. Let's face it. Let's call it. Let's call it what it is. So there's something that feels transgressive about extolling one's English identity, and then even down further to the London identity. Because for me, it's not just about England; it's very much about London, and it's such a lost city at the moment that one feels that one's kind of performing some sort of rescue. Some emergency heart surgery on the city. But it's wonderful because if you're going to perform emergency heart surgery on the city, you're going to need a lot of adrenaline. And I'm telling you, some of the young people around the club, there's such energy. It's so great to feel that vitality. The young people. But it's really reassuring, inspiring, and energizing to have that young demographic starting to really get engaged and to really step into their power. But also, on the other hand, having the elders, so David Starkey at the bar, various MP, political and writery type people, elders. For me, a nightclub should have the new generation and the elders together. To a lot of people who've grown up through house music and festivals and things like that, that may seem a bit odd, but traditionally, the old discos, the old kind of 70s disco, Studio 54 in New York is really where the modern nightclub was born. And there was always the new bright young things, the new young pop stars or fashion designers mixed with the money, with the millionaires, with the elders, with the big Hollywood producers or the business people, giving free champagne to the kids who would then roll around on the floor and act up for them. That was very much a part of nightclub culture. And for me, that is a true club, is when you've got this very wide demographic of people, but also very wide age range, because wonderful things happen when there's a cross-generational enjoyment of one another, genuine respect and deep liking for one another.
So, 3 years. The cathedral has been going for 3 years. Is there anything planned?
3 whole years. Well, 3 years is quite an achievement considering how people have tried to attack and cancel us, of course, in current year. We're having a third birthday party. I believe there will be a link in the article. Everyone's welcome. It is guest list only. We do vet people, but I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably friend. So we're having a party on a boat on the Thames, to be very London about the whole thing. It's a static boat, it's not moving. I've done a number of moving boat parties. This one is moored. It's got a lovely deck. One of the things about the cathedral that's always very important is the area for discussion and talking. One of our scenes is very whiskey and cigars. So the boys like to be outside with their big cigars and their whiskey, talking theory and policy and politics and philosophy, very important. So it's got a lovely cigar and whiskey deck. It could even be a roll-up and cider. So yeah, boat party, our new little venue where we're thinking of doing some more regular events there. The cathedral doesn't have a regular club at the moment. Live music and bands is an important part of what we do, supporting and giving people places to play. So we have a pub in King's Cross called the Water Rats, which is the last remaining working music hall. It was built in the 19th century as a music hall. That's a great venue for having bands, so we regularly do things there. But we move about. I mean, obviously, they, them, are on our tail constantly, trying to thwart our
And
plans.
well, could you clarify who they them are? We were talking about this earlier. I don't think our viewers might think there are some I don't know
Non non-binaries on the trail.
exactly. Yeah.
No, I call they them. When people say, "Oh, they wouldn't allow it. They are doing that." It's the great they. So I just call them they them for fun. The powers that are always trying to thwart our best laid plans. It's all very Acme. It's all very Looney Tunes. We're
Yeah.
stalked by the state and their various dysfunctional minions.
Who are the dysfunctional minions that have caused you the most anguish?
Like we had oil people, like those fossil fuel protesters, E. coli, as I call them. We've had some of the rainbow psychopaths taking offence.
What on earth is their problem with?
Well, because we're all nasties and we're all, mid-century Germans. I just say yes now. Yes, darling, that's not correct. Yes, pass me my SS hat. I mean, what more could it's just the whole thing is so utterly laughable and ridiculous. And those people are so deeply old-fashioned and unfashionable and naff. I mean, it's what we just used to call naff. Those people, that whole mindset, the whole DEI intersectional international rules-based order. It's gone over. I mean, that's one of the wonderful things about being involved in kind of clubs and fashion and music and that kind of stuff is it's so clear when an idea has had its day, because fashion, zeitgeist, moves very quickly when it moves. It doesn't hang about. Out in the populace, one has the idea of these kind of slow crossovers, but within elite circles where things happen very, very quickly. I mean, 2 years ago this was done. I could sense the tectonic plate shifting in 2015, 2016.
So where do you see the cathedral here? What is the future of the cathedral as well?
So a club is a space for ideas to come together, a space for artists, musicians, writers, philosophers, filmmakers, authors. It's a bar, effectively, where a certain select group of people come together and forge new ideas, new ways forward, new aesthetics. It's about empowering the current zeitgeist. So I hope that the cathedral will continue its mission to do exactly that and to be a place in real life, not just on the internet, where people can come together and cross pollinate, which is why it's so important to have people from different walks of life and different viewpoints, however extreme. And I mean, the more extreme, the better, in a way, whether it's kind of right wing ideology. I mean, it's very political at the moment. It's moving back more into cultural. I think we're kind of breaking that grip that purely political thinking has had. I would hope that the cathedral continues to be an environment that facilitates that cross pollination. Traditionally, in my clubs, I always had the new bands. I would stage the shows for the new designers, photographers, new magazines. I'm hoping we can be a home and encourage a lot more kind of DIY startups, cultural startups. It's coming, and our people have so much talent and vision and ability that, as I say, we are the inevitable. We are the ascension. And those old ways of seeing things and thinking, all this separation, identity politics, nonsense, it's already over.
Mm.
Trust me. Well, you can feel it. People can feel it. It's just making sure we put every last nail in their coffin.
There you go. You heard it first from the man who knows culture, music, fashion, art, clubs, the great Matthew Glamorre.
Thank you very much, Lana. That was really lovely talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you on the boat.
Absolutely. I'll be there. I'll be flying in for it.
Great, wonderful. Thank you very much. See you soon, everybody.